Hello, everyone. This is MMA Interesting Prospects podcast. Today, our guest is Josh Augustine, who will headline Elevate Fight Night 5, November 10th. Hello, Josh. How are you?
Doing well, brother. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you for taking the invitation. And in your next fight, you will be fighting against Josh Altum. I think that overall quite interesting challenge because he fought in the CFFC, also in the Fury FC. So if you can tell me, what do you think about this opponent, and how do you feel overall a few days before the fight?
I'm feeling good, man. There's not too much of a weight cut with us doing the fight at 55. I've been working my way to get back down to 145 pounds. So weight wise, everything feels good. I know I'm going to really be able to push the pace on Sunday night, and I just really like the matchup. Since the fight has been proposed to me, I thought it's a really fantastic matchup. My management's been into it. My coaches have been into it. We've done our homework. We've put the work in. We put the time in. We've properly prepared mentally, physically, technically, tactically, and I'm just excited to get out there Sunday afternoon and just show off my skills.
And six out of your seven wins came by knockout. You won by knockout. And do you plan to add another one this time?
I do. I absolutely do. That's a great question. I think that I saw a post of his on Facebook that said he was trying to promote the show and say, get tickets. And he said, I'm going to catch a body, which in St. Louis, where I'm from, means you're going to kill somebody. And I think that's pretty funny coming from a guy who lays on his back and dives around for heel hooks, because I go out there and I really actually hurt people really, really bad. I've retired more guys than Social Security. So, I think that this is going to be a really fun matchup for me. I think it's going to be a really tough night for him. And I think that this is a great opportunity for me to put not only a fantastic highlight reel, but possibly one of the best performances of my entire career.
Because overall you are the knockout artist. In your last fight, did you were you a little bit like maybe afraid about your cardio? Because previously in your wins, you won 5 times in first round and one in the second round. So when like second round started in that bout, did you feel maybe a little bit stressed that maybe your cardio will not hold up?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say that I was stressed that it wouldn't hold up because I prepared for that type of fight. I wanted to actually go deeper into the fight. I obviously always want the finish, and I think that the opportunity presented itself a few times in the second and third, but I was extremely cautious on not over expending myself, especially with a guy who's a veteran. He's very tough. He was a jiu-jitsu black belt as well. Um, so yeah, that was a conscious thing I had going into that fight before I've gone out and tried to sprint and take people out. But I'm hitting a new stage in my game where I think I'm finding the balance between the two. And this matchup is a lot different than the last one. That guy was much more of a unconventional, unorthodox, sloppy kind of guy where, anything could really happen. He's a little taller. He could, maybe catch me or, you don't want anything to happen. So I had to be a little more cautious with that one. This one, I think I'm going to be able to open up a little bit more with my striking. And then I think that's where the result that I'm looking for will come from.
And overall, about the knockouts, do you have like maybe some technique that you would like to win by? Maybe some vicious knee, maybe elbow. Do you have something that in the end you would like to finish your opponent by with?
We have a few things that we've been working on this camp specifically that I would really love to see, and I'd be down to come back on and reveal it after the fight. But I don't want to give them any heads up before. But there's a couple specific things that I could really see landing that whenever I visualize over and over again, I see the shot coming. But in fighting, everything's so unpredictable. It's never what you expect it to be. You're always gonna have to make adjustments. You're always gonna have to do whatever's there. And Josh is tough. He's a tough kid. So who knows? Maybe I land the shots that I really want to land and he just doesn't go away. I have to beat him up for 15 minutes. That's definitely a large possibility. And I'm more than prepared for that. So yeah, I have a few though. I have a few really good shots I want to hit him with.
And this will be a main event, and overall also have a good opponent. But your previous bout happened November last year, so it is like a 1 year break. And was it like planned to have this kind of break, or something happened and in the end it just happened like this?
It sort of just happened like this. We had a handful of things happen over the past year. Right after that fight, I was told from my previous management that I had the opportunity to be on the Ultimate Fighter, and so we held out for the Ultimate Fighter. Obviously, I wasn't on the show. I was down to some of the final people in casting, and then didn't get the call, unfortunately. And so after that, we were trying to get a fight back home together on Shamrock FC in May, and we just had some trouble lining up the opponent and getting someone in there. And then I was supposed to fight in June against Alex Morgan from Canada, and that's whenever I missed weight, and we had the fallout there, and that fight didn't go through. And then after that, that was a really rough camp for my body, so I took like 2 or 3 weeks off, healed up and stuff. And then right after that, I ended up leaving Iridium Sports Agency and signing with my new management, Roman Athletic Institute, under Roman Isbell. He's one of the top up and coming managers in the game. He is still a professional fighter. I was going to say former, but he's still a professional fighter. He's extremely knowledgeable. He has a very high fight IQ. He has a insanely knowledgeable eye for the game, and he puts that IQ to use in finding proper matchups for his guys. And I kind of became close with him, training with him in Xtreme Couture, and he's one of the few managers in this game I think that you can really trust. So ended up signing with him after the fallout of that fight. Then about 12 weeks ago, we got word for this fight, and I was hoping to get something a little like more short notice, like September, October, and jump right back in there. But I think he wanted me to, take this fight, get prepared for it. It's a good fight. It's a good contest for both of us. There's a path to victory for each of us. It's not like a walkover. So I think he really wanted me to be fully prepared for this fight. And so we held up for this one, and it's just the start of being very active this next year. As long as I can just stay healthy, I'm going to be in the gym. I'm going to be competing as much as possible. And that's what I would have liked to done this past year. But obviously in this game, there's a lot of outside interruption and noise and politics and lots of things that are happening. I think now that I'm with Roman, it's going to be really easy for us to continuously find matchups at whatever level I'm at, whether that's jumping up to the next level, whether that's UFC, PFL, Bellator, whatever, or even being at the regional scene. I just want to be active. I want to fight a lot. I want to make some money and start building my legacy.
So next year, maybe 4 or 5 bouts?
Yeah, I mean, shit, maybe more. Who knows? I used to train with Charles Johnson back in the day, and he is just putting up insane numbers the past couple of years in the UFC. Him and I came up together in St. Louis, and I just love what he's doing right now. I mean, it's frustrating whenever he would lose like a couple of those short notice, close decisions like earlier in his UFC run. Like that was really frustrating to see, but now it's all working out for him so beautifully, and really happy to see his success. And I definitely would like to take a similar path. Like I said, whatever level I'm signed to, just being in there, being active. I don't care if it's 4 times, 6 times. If I get, if I can go out there and come out unscathed and get a call for something, even if it's regional in December, I'm in great shape. I've been in great shape, and I'm going to get right back in the gym, and I'm going to be ready to go.
And in some ways, activity can build legends, because like Donald Cerrone, he was famous for taking the short notice opportunity. Of course, he was like super high level as far as skills, but I think that this mentality that he was taking these fights also helped building his name.
100%, man, 100%. He was a superstar guy that I loved coming up and watching, and I'm looking forward to him finishing out his career and seeing how that plays out. And I don't know if I necessarily want to do that as much as he did. I'd like to make like a serious run at the title, but for the place that I'm in right now, I think being active is going to be very important for me.
And how your journey with MMA started? Do you have any like previous background, maybe wrestling, maybe some other thing, or did you start with MMA?
I technically started with MMA. I played all sports growing up: soccer, basketball, American football, baseball, everything. And my whole family was very good at all other sports. Like whenever I was a kid, I thought everyone just went to Division I school if you were like pretty good at, a sport. And I just didn't know how crazy that was. And then whenever I was 15, I just happened to ride by on my bikes with my friends. We saw an MMA gym. It had the cage, the bags, and I was looking in there and I was like, wow, people really do this in this town. That's so crazy. And I had just the weekend before, maybe a couple days before, I had watched Minotauro Nogueira versus Heath Herring. And it's a great back and forth fight. If you haven't seen it, you got to go back and watch it. And it's a classic UFC heavyweight war. And both of those guys' primes. And it was really cool. And I was like, I had that like mental turn on of the sport. I was still thinking about it. And I'd grown up watching Pride. My dad was a huge boxing fan. I grew up watching Mike Tyson and Floyd Mayweather and Prince Nassim and all these guys. And so whenever I went in and I started training that very first day, it was just like instantly addicted. And then I was competing in Golden Gloves and wrestling within another year from that. So then the rest is history.
And you
15 years later.
and you had the first amateur fight in 2012, right?
Yes, that's whenever I had just turned 18. I was still in high school.
And at that point, how many, maybe not years, but months did you have of training? Did you have?
At that time, I want to say it was about 3 or 4 years, probably at that time. Yeah, I had a little bit of experience. I had also competed in boxing fights and jiu-jitsu tournaments and wrestling at that point. But it's nothing like MMA.
And were you like stressed before your first bout? Because 18 is quite young, and of course you had this experience before, but like MMA is MMA.
Yeah, I was kind of just a young, dumb kid. I didn't really know what the hell was going on. And I grew up, where like the fights weren't really a big deal whenever I was a kid. You just scrapped and that was that. And you would be stressed if there was like a weapon or something or multiple people. But with MMA, it's just you and one person. There's a referee there to stop it if it goes bad. And it was all just very natural to me. I remember I was not very nervous for that fight. As I began to gain more skill and the more ability I have to hurt people, that's actually the more nervous that I get because now I see the type of damage that I could inflict on another human. And I think, oh man, there's other people out there that are better than me at this department or this department. And so then you start to really become aware of like the gravity of the situation that we're really getting into. But then I was just a young, dumb kid. I was just like, hell yeah, let's do it. I love the sport. Let's just fight and figure it out. And obviously, I've had a lot of fights since then. So, I think that comes with experience as well.
And now you train in Xtreme Couture. And how did you get to this gym? Because this is one of the best gyms in the world.
Yeah. So when I was signed with Iridium Sports Agency, I had a falling out with my old gym back home where I came up my whole career. And I had just signed with them, and I talked to my agent at the time, and they wanted me to come out to Las Vegas before I had decided to stay home. Whenever I'd first signed with them, I told him I had a falling out, and he said, "Yeah, just come to Vegas." And I packed the car up, and I was out there about 6 days later. Didn't know what the apartment looked like, didn't know what the gym was like, didn't know what Vegas would be like, and I just figured it out, got out here, and I couldn't be happier about it though, because obviously there's so much talent in the room and amazing coaching staff. I ended up getting connected with my coach now, Lanan, and he is just a wizard. He sacrifices so much just to help me and a few other close teammates out, and just the coaching staff there is insane. The skill level in each different department is absolutely insane. You know, most gyms across the world in the country, in the United States at least, it's hard to find any one guy that's as good as some of the coaches are, you know, to be their one head coach, where we have literally, I mean, we have Jake Shields, Dennis Davis, Jason Manley, you know, Mike Pyle, Ray Sefo, like it's absolutely obviously like Eric Nixick, and then like I said, my coach Lanon, and you know, the list goes on and on and on, and it's insane. And then to have the caliber of fighters there to train with, you know, guys like Mads Burnell and Patchy Mix and Shorty Torres, you know, everybody. It's absolutely insane.
And actually, I think that Patchy Mix can be the. I mean, it is opinion, but he can be like top two, maybe top one, the best bantamweight right now
Oh, he's the best.
because of course
There's no question in my mind. He's the best 135er in the world right now. He's really good, man. Between his length and being southpaw with his jiu-jitsu, and he's that dude's a problem. I think if he was in the UFC, he would be a lot more popular than he is now. And I think he's still doing great for himself and all that, but he's yeah, he's a monster, man. He's an absolute monster.
so you have there like great big names like super skilled fighter, but can you maybe share a name of the fighter that is a prospect, maybe not super known, but you see the potential in him, and he can be a huge star in next few years?
Yeah, I mean there are quite a few guys like that at the gym, man. There's a lot. I mean we got Arthur Duflo, he's coming with me for this fight. I mean, yeah, the list goes on and on. There's Tyler Matheson, my good friend, you know. There's guys like God, there's so many. I'm just trying to just not leave anybody out. Kobe Fair is going to be an up and comer. He's got the potential to be a world champion for sure. Trying to think. I mean, there's so many guys that people have even probably heard of that I'm trying to like think of like coming up. Like Kenny Cross is amazing. I mean, you got guys like I guess Marion just won the Ultimate Fighter. Obviously, he's coming up. He's going to be really good. Who was I going to say? I don't know. I feel like I'm leaving so many people out. I mean, there's even like amateurs that are going to be really phenomenal. A kid like Tracy Love, he's super phenomenal. He's a tough enough champion out here at 135. I think that kid's got a ton of potential. I think he's about 21 years old. He spars with all the pros and stuff. And yeah, and, you know, the list goes on and on. There's guys coming in every day from all over the country that are just going to join the team and make the group even stronger.
And of course, you have a lot of experience now, when you are training with the best fighters in the world. But do you have a name in mind, the fighter that you would like to face? Maybe it will happen. Maybe it would be a dream fight scenario. But do you have this name that you would like to fight?
I think the dream fight would be Conor McGregor. He was a guy that I really looked up to. That obviously, if you get to fight him, you're making millions of dollars. So the dream fight, I think, would definitely be Conor. But there's so many legends. Like I was such a nerd of just like the sport, just watching everybody. Honestly, fighting any like legend or guy that's been there before me would just be a huge honor for me. So, you know, I get to train with some of those guys in the room sometimes, and yeah, it would be awesome to go and get a win over a guy that I really admire and know and love, like a Cub Swanson or like a Darren Elkins or like uh, even like a Donald Cerrone or a Jim Miller or one of those guys. You know, I think that that's not outside the realm of possibility. Like that could happen if I get signed, you know, in a little bit of time. And yeah, I think one of those guys that would be really fun.
And the fighters that you mentioned before, they are fighting in the UFC for 10, 15 years. They are so big of the legends. Maybe not people not consider them the legends like Jim Miller, like Darren Elkins, but I think that they should be really people should give them the respect, because they are like true pioneers, true legends. They fought against who is who, so I think that they definitely deserve this.
Absolutely. And I mean, they may not be like legends to the casuals, or might not everyone at the grocery store is going to know them like they know Sean O'Malley, right? But like to you and I, and to like the fighters, those are like the type of people that I have a lot of respect for, and would like to go up against. Honestly, one of my favorite fighters that I thought it could potentially happen one day was Daniel Daniel Pineda, who obviously just retired a couple of weeks ago. Um, I mean, he's fought everybody. He's got so many miles on his body. I'm sure he had so many wars in the cage. But he was always one of my favorites to watch growing up. He's such a dog.
And I think that he actually finished all of his fights, all of his wins. He got only submissions and knockouts,
Yep.
no decisions.
Yep. Yeah, and he lost to Elkins, another guy that I mentioned, not too a couple weeks ago. And yeah, that was a fantastic fight as well.
And for now, do you have a UFC or MMA fight that you are really waiting for?
Mm, I think everyone's ready for the John Jones and Stipe fight. Uh, and outside of that, not too much. I mean, Ilya and Max, I was obviously really looking forward to. And I did not expect it to play out that way, but Ilya is very impressive right now. But yeah, John Jones and Stipe for sure. See how that plays out. And then hopefully they can somehow make Francis Ngannou versus John happen before it's too late.
And who do you think will win, John against Stipe?
I think John's gonna beat Stipe. I think he's a really special talent that we've never seen in the UFC before. And whenever he competes, it's just like he's on another level than everybody. And it's always been that way. And Stipe is a guy who has taken a lot of damage and has lost fights before. And I think it's just going to be a really tough matchup for him as well, with the boxing style coming into the kicks, how long John is. And I don't know, we'll see how the wrestling plays out, but if John out wrestles him, it's going to be probably a short night as well. So yeah, we'll see. Who do you think wins that fight?
I think that John Jones, when it was announced 1 year ago, because it should happen November last year. I for all the time I thought that John will win, but now I think that it would be quite crazy when Stipe would knock him out and retire with the belt. It would be a quite interesting story, and probably UFC wouldn't like it really.
No, the UFC definitely wouldn't like it, and that would be really cool. But man, I just can't even see that in my mind. It's really hard to imagine John get beat. But Stipe's knocked out a lot of people. He's got heavy, heavy hands, and anything happens at heavyweight.
And do you also wait for boxing bout between Jake Paul and Mike Tyson?
Oh, uh, ah, I'm not really super interested. I don't really want to watch it too much. I will watch it because I got to see how that plays out. But I just think it's going to be sad. I think Jake's going to beat up on Mike, and Mike's 60 years old, and that's just not right. That's assault on a senior citizen, really, if it was out on the street. So, uh, yeah, I don't want to watch it for that reason, and I don't mind Jake. I just would rather see him fight. Like a lot of people like to hate on Jake Paul. I don't. I think he's pretty good and great at promoting the fights and bringing light to the sport and all of that stuff, and even brings a lot of light to MMA on that next generation of kids as well. And he pays homage to all the guys that he's fought, and gotta respect that, honestly. Uh, but I'd rather see him have a rematch with Fury, or start to fight. I'm not even gonna say real fighters. He can keep fighting old MMA fighters. I don't care. That's kind of cool to me to see what will happen. I want to see him fight Pereira. That'd be pretty interesting. But Mike Tyson, it's just kind of all right, you won. You beat up the old guy. Who's next after this? I just hope Mike's okay afterwards, really.
Yes, almost 30 years is just too much of the wage difference, age difference. It's not like in the Rocky Balboa that he fought against
That's a
against
great movie.
current champion.
Well, and whenever you look at the fight with Evander Holyfield and Vitor Belfort, whenever they boxed a couple of years ago, it's just sad because if you ran that fight back whenever you know 10 years before in a boxing match, Vitor would never touch Evander. Evander will piece him up and make him look stupid 10 out of 10 times. And then, you send him in there at 60 years old versus a 45-year-old roided out Vitor. It's just like, I don't know. I just hate to see it. I hate to see older fighters kind of getting taken advantage of. It's a continuous story and loop of, guys basically needing money and getting back out there for a payday, and then they get hurt really bad. And I hate to see that. It's especially like being in my shoes. Like, man, if you put some old guy in front of me, I would destroy him, especially if you put a big old paycheck behind him. And, it's, I just hope I'm never in a position to do that. But I also don't judge any of those guys who do that, because at the end of the day, you're just providing for your family and making sure everyone has what they need. And we all are willing to go out on our shield, I think. So it's sort of respectable in a sense, but I just wish that commissions would tighten up on stuff like that. Like how is the commission allowing a fight like this to even happen? It shouldn't be allowed, especially after Mike already had health complications in the prior booking of the fight. It seems a little bit ridiculous. And then like the Evander Holyfield fight, like who cleared Evander to fight at 58 years old? It just doesn't seem right to me. But it is what it is. That's the fight game.
And getting back to your career, because you won your last fight, you have this fight in just few days, and you want to be active next year. So do you think that it is possible for you to be in the Contender Series next year?
I think it is, like, it's for sure possible. I do not want to go that route. I'm 31, so Dana's not always super excited about signing guys that are in their 30s that come through the Contender Series. And also with my record being at 7-3 and most of my wins coming by knockout, if I can string together, after this win, it wouldn't be crazy if I got a short notice call, or maybe one more after that, 9-3. That's a pretty solid record to come into the UFC right out of the gate. So I'm hoping to go that route, rather than have to wait until next fall for contenders. But I've had to be patient for a very long time. So if I got to be a little more patient, wait till next fall, then that's how the cards fall. Then that's how they fall, and I'm not against it. But hopefully, I'm able to string a couple wins together here this winter. I would like to get a win by spectacular fashion on Sunday, and then hopefully I can get on the Wednesday Tough Enough card. There's been a handful of guys who get signed straight out of Tough Enough. It's on Wednesday, December 4th. Maybe I can beat up a guy on there, another Vegas local or something, former UFC guy, and prove that I'm ready to be in the UFC before the end of the year. Who knows? I'm not shy to take chances and see where the cards fall, no matter what weight class or what's going on. So we just got to see how Sunday plays out, though. I'm really focused on Josh Altum. I've put a lot of time and effort into making sure that I'm going to go out and have a really great performance with him, and making sure that I'm not only physically prepared, but tactically prepared. And, I'm just excited to see how I translate what I've been doing in training for this whole training camp, specifically for this guy, to see how it translates onto Sunday night. And then once we get through that, then we'll go from there, because, everything comes off of what happens Sunday. So I'm really looking forward to this fight. Obviously, hopefully I just knock him out 10 seconds and then the UFC calls and, they want to take care of me. But yeah, I'm just putting one foot in front of the other. And when we get past Sunday, we'll see what happens.
And short notice fights also are this is a great way to get to the UFC. And I believe that last year there was a fighter who got a short notice opportunity to fight against Jim Miller. He actually lost quite quickly, but it actually can show that you can, from the 2 weeks that you are fighting somewhere on the regional scene, then you can get a UFC fight against some big name.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's my teammate, Nicholas Mota. He actually had his UFC debut against Jim Miller as well. Same thing. Came in on short notice. They called him in, and He had to go in, I think, on like 5 days notice or something like that, and had to fight Jim, which is crazy. But he did pretty well against him. He ended up losing, but he did really well against him. And yeah, that's exactly. I mean, I think you almost, if you're not going to go through Contender Series, you almost have to anticipate that it's going to be short notice and possibly even up a weight class. Which is why I say I don't shy away from opportunity. It is what it is. We're like, this is the fight business, and it's dirty, and I've seen how it works, and I'll do whatever I got to do to get into my contract and get it going. But you know, it's usually short notice. So after this one, I'm gonna keep the weight down and stay ready and stay in shape.
I have one last question, but it is outside of fighting. Do you have any like pet peeves? Pet peeves?
One more time.
Do you have a pet peeves?
Oh, pet peeves. Ooh, that's a good question. Um, well, for me, I'm a very hard worker, so um, like people kind of like complaining or making excuses, like whether that's in fighting or out of fighting or just in life in general. That's always really annoying to me. Um, but outside of that, no, I don't really have things that drive me too crazy, honestly. What is yours?
Of course, I have a few of them, but I would need to think about how to
It's a
say
good one.
how to say it English. So
Oh,
probably it would take me a little bit of time. So next time next time I will will prepare my answer for this.
deal, deal.
Okay, Josh, so many thanks for the conversation. I think that this fight will be a really interesting one because he's a solid opponent, and I hope that with a win, we can see you in the either UFC or maybe PFL, maybe Bellator next year.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, man. I appreciate the support. Obviously, that's the goal. I'm just gonna keep plugging away like I have been for years. Just go out and just do my best Sunday night. It's all I can control. It's all I can take care of, and uh, that's that's all I'm planning on doing. So, thank you again for having me on, brother. I really appreciate the support and helping get the word out.